Welcome to BAM, Badass Moms with Lori and Jenny. We are moms on a mission to share women's stories about life, fitness, aging, relationships, travel, and much more. Welcome to another exciting episode of Badass Moms, the podcast that celebrates the fearless and fabulous moms who redefine motherhood. I'm Lori, and next to me is Jenny. Today we have a very special guest joining us. She's a powerhouse in her own right, a mother of 2 grown children, and an inspiration to all. Please welcome the one, the only, Paula.
Good to be here.
Hi, Paula. I'm so happy to see you. It's been probably several years since I've seen you, and I'm excited to get to hear a little bit about your story. So welcome, and thanks for coming today.
Thank you.
We'd love to hear, well, I know Lori knows your backstory, but I'd love to hear a little bit about how you met Lori and how you two came to know each other.
How we go back and, how just a few years, right? Well, we were just figuring it out about 15-ish years, so yeah.
Yeah, take us back.
So my husband and I decided that we were going to join a gym, and we joined Lifetime because it was a brand new gym. And so I decided that I was going to go and get buff and go on to the elliptical and do things like that because everybody uses those machines. So as I was on the elliptical for probably the 4th or 5th time, Lori had been kind of trolling around, and
she's all young trainers. They troll around looking for clients.
She stopped by and said, "I think I can help you." And so we sat and talked for a minute about the benefits of cardio training as opposed to strength training and the things that she could help me with. So I signed up with her to go and participate as a client of hers 2 mornings a week. And so every morning, or every 2 mornings, I would stop by at about 5:15 in the morning after I dropped my daughter off at swim practice, and we would do a workout routine. I'd have enough time to take a shower, and she would have enough time to take a shower. We'd go back, the whole family would get ready to go to school and work, and our day began. And so I met her.
I always say, I sum it up and say, I found Paula on I say treadmill, elliptical.
You picked her up at the gym.
I picked her up at the gym, and it's been a relationship of watching Paula not only our friendship foster over the years, but truly watching Paula just I like to say really come into this amazing woman that she always has been, but with her fitness specifically, just going from at the time I met her to never lifting weights or running at all to now I think she had just told me she's run like 110 different 5Ks, half marathons, whatever it is, to now where she's a mom of 2 grown children, which we'll touch on here coming up next. But I think let's ask that hard question we always ask all of our guests, Jenny, and that's,
so what does it mean to you to be a badass mom?
Well, one of the things that I found out was that I got to give my kids a chance to learn their own way. My friend Stacy and I used to have a joke about how our kids were the president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer of the Do Everything the Hard Way Club. But the fact was that through bettering myself, I was able to be a better mom. And I was able to not be afraid of what I was or was not going to do. I was getting better at being able to look them in the eye and be honest with them. And I found that not only that, they trusted me a lot more. And we've had a pretty good relationship all through those years. And right now, my son is 32, my daughter is 29, and we still have a wonderful relationship.
Oh, and I think that's what we all strive for, right? I mean, I think this is a great trio of perspectives with me having a younger child and a 15-year-old, and Jenny having kids that are a senior in high school and in college, and then Paula having the grown children. I think it really puts in perspective that like we touched on previously, and I think we all do as moms. We do our best, and if we're our best selves, our kids become their best selves.
Absolutely. And I would love to hear a little bit about, I know that it's very interesting to me that you are an empty nester, and because I'm about to get to that point in my life, and so I would love any advice you have on how you maximize your time, what you do now that the kids are out of the house.
As we said earlier, how do you not fuck your kids up?
I've rented out their rooms.
My daughter hasn't let me touch her room yet, even though she's never there.
So actually, right now I have a good friend of ours' daughter that I've watched grow up that lives with us. She has the upstairs.
Oh, I love it.
So you're not a true empty nester. You were missing children so much in your life that you brought in someone else into your house.
She pays me.
To fill that. I do love that. So back to Jenny's question. Do you have that advice for her? Like, what sticks out in your mind to now that your kids are older and somewhat self-sufficient? I would hope for the most part. What's some key
guidance, advice.
So one of the things that we did was we actually went to a Love and Logic class when they were young.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I guess always stuck in my mind was the instructor had said, let's picture your kid that is walking towards some sort of a hole or a big puddle or whatever. You are not going to lay yourself down over that puddle and let them walk all over your back. You can tell them, hey, there's a puddle. You can even take your coat and put it over the puddle. But don't let them do that.
Yeah.
And that really rang pretty close to my heart, because really we can't do that. We can't just bail them out of everything.
Yeah.
And you're there. And if they need you, they need you, you're there, but you're not going to try to fix it for them, and you're not going to try to make that decision for them. And that was probably one of the things that it stuck with me.
Yeah.
That's amazing advice. I definitely agree. I think it comes down to really, being there, being supportive, but your kids got to fall face first into that puddle sometimes, and that's how they learn, right? Or they figure out strategies around it, and we can't constantly be, putting them in a bubble. At times I wish I could.
Because unless you're going to walk with them to class as a college freshman, you're not going to be there every time they encounter some sort of struggle.
Exactly. So right now my daughter lives in Australia, and I'm going to go visit her shortly. But it does make me feel good that both of my kids have now had the courage to do some things that are a little bit edgy, and that I know about it.
Yeah.
But I've got to remember that
it's their journey.
That's their thing. That's their journey too. And
I repeat that to myself all the time these days. It's their journey.
It is true.
So thinking about the fact that your kids are, 29 and 32, is that what you said? So think about when you were around their age. Looking back, what advice would you give yourself at their age?
To give myself a chance to let it get better. And for example, this last weekend we went camping in a place that wasn't too far away, and my son and his girlfriend came over and hung out with us.
Yeah.
And just things like that makes you feel like they like being with you.
Yeah.
And I guess that's one of the things that if I were to talk to myself when I was back at like 25 years old, is that, you know what, this different world is good as well.
Yeah.
You know?
That's great advice. So Paula, you obviously clearly are about us mom. You have two kids that are, self-sufficient, not living at your house, traveling the world, have their own jobs. I find that as a win, right? Like right there in itself, that's all of our goals.
Not in jail.
Yeah, not in jail. Not in jail. That's number one, right? But Paula, knowing Paula all these years, Paula's got a lot of amazing stories, but I do want to touch base on one that I think is extraordinary. This happened before she had children, am I correct? Years and years and years ago, and we'll keep it somewhat short. We don't need to dive too deep into it. But Paula actually had a brain tumor when she was, how old?
Like 25.
25. Wow. So, if you want to just kind of give us a story on that, if you couldn't condense such a traumatic, part of your life into kind of like a nutshell. If that changed anything, I think with your outlook with just being alive and moving forward with life, and when you did have children, if that changed any of your thought process.
It did get in my way some, but honestly, it was a benign tumor. It was something that I found out I had when I had horrific headaches. Went in, and it is a little bit unnerving when you go in, you have a CAT scan, and the doctor calls and says, we have a reservation for you at the hospital on Monday, and this is Friday. So
it's not a reservation out of 5-star hotel. It's not you've won this amazing trip. Instead, you get.
So through all that, though, there was some times where I did have some health problems, and I ended up having to find transportation for my kids to get to school and to get
so
to
there was
babysitters.
Repercussions
there
after.
were repercussions.
Okay. Yep.
And so I was paying one of my friends gas money so that she would drop them off and do things like that. And that did change, but it was a little bit dicey back then.
Yeah. And that was before you had kids?
It all started, but there were carryovers and things like that. And so anyway, it's not easy.
Yeah, I give you kudos for, I can't even imagine going through something like that, and then having kind of the lingering issues that you had to kind of tackle while being a mom and raising children. So I think that's extraordinary for sure. I know we have so many more questions to ask you, Jenny.
Yeah, I would love to hear. Bring us to today. What are you working on now? I know you're going to go to Australia and visit your daughter. So what else are you excited about?
I'm very excited about going to see her. But as far as physical things and all that, I'm on my way to Las Vegas in February to do my 10th half marathon for the Strip at
All
Night.
these runners, you guys! I keep interviewing all these runners. At some point, you guys are
They're all
convince
around
me
you.
to do
the
a 5K
Strip
or
at Night
something.
race,
Oh, my goodness.
and I have two friends. It's my 10th and their first, so we all have like a benchmark that
I love
night.
it. That's
and
awesome.
So that's going to be a lot of fun. They've never done that before. From what I've understood from both of them, it's will be the first and the last half that they ever do.
They say that now, and you know how it goes. You sign up like the next day.
I know, and my husband reminded me that last year I said that was the last one I would do.
It's never the last with anything, right? It's like you get a taste, and then you had a good experience, you want to go back, or you did have a bad experience and you want to do better.
Rectify it.
Yeah,
exactly.
right. We flash back to Jenny's experience in her marathon where she was talking about how hot it was, right?
Yeah.
And it's like you just think, well, it's got to be better the next year, right? And maybe
Totally.
even when you have those moments when it's really, really good,
You want to do it again.
Right?
I know.
I think that's...
So,
go ahead.
I will be an international runner now because we'll be doing the 5K,
Which is so awesome.
in Australia.
I love that. So Paula, I think one other thing that we haven't really, there's tons about your life, right, that we don't know, or, we can only share so much, but Paula's been a lifelong teacher, which I think hands down, not only just being a parent, you're then taking on the task to raise other people's children for most of the day, for all of your life. Paula, how many years have you taught, and what has that kind of added to you being a badass mom, and just being a badass mom for other moms that aren't a badass mom, because you're helping raise their children and teach them and, make them better humans?
I think I've done this for about 40 years. And
I volunteer at my son's school, and after about an hour, I'm like, have a
Takes a
nice
special
day.
person. Yeah.
the one thing that does allow me to do is when the kids were younger to look at them and say, I don't think so. If you think that I don't know what you're doing, if you think that I haven't seen that, you are wrong. But the other good thing about being at the school is that I was able to bring Girls on the Run to our school.
Cool.
And we did 18 seasons.
Oh my God.
Can you tell people what Girls on the Run is?
Girls on the Run is a program in which girls, they call it their star power, and they find their star power, which is what drives them and what makes them a beast. And
I like that.
through the whole, and that's a little bit harsh, but
I don't think so. I love it.
through the whole program, they learn how to run. They learn, and they train for a 5K. Our school was in a situation where they got scholarships, so it was generally $185 a season for this. That Girls on the Run is so generous that our scholarship was for $20 a girl. So it allowed all of the girls to be able to participate. The teachers would also offer to pay for their tuition or pay for shoes or things like that. And one time I remember going to a training that a woman cried because she had no idea that there were people that didn't have shoes.
Oh.
She just didn't know. And so through those years, I still kept in touch with some of the girls, and it was a good thing.
So you've seen them grow up too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's a very good program. If anybody ever if you have a daughter that is anywhere 3rd grade to 5th grade, you can look that up, and it's a fabulous program. It really is.
That's wonderful. That's awesome.
It's fun to see the kids gain confidence through doing something that they haven't done before or have not been, challenged in that way.
And also after a few years, it would be that the coaches weren't even running with the girls. We were kind of monitoring things because their parents were out there, their brothers and sisters were out there, and things like that. And it just became a thing that grew more than we ever thought it would.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's great.
This kind of goes into the next question, and it could be the answer, but what are you most proud of? She's got her list.
Yeah. Okay, that my 2 kids are good people.
Yeah. Yeah.
That they grew up and they have their moments and everything, but they truly are good people. They know kind of the rules of how to treat others, and I'm just very happy that that's who we sent out in the world.
Was there ever a time when the kids, there's a certain period, I think, where they're a little bit more difficult as teenagers and things like that?
At the time I texted my friend that my son was in jail, many times that I wondered about that. Our son, on Wednesday, we knew that he would be graduating from high school on Saturday.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Okay.
But it was because he is the one that said, I really do want to do this.
Yeah.
And so, you've got to hand it to him. Our daughter, we had a week and a half notice. She also thought the same thing.
Maybe well versed by then.
maybe I do want to do this. And so both of them went through bar and bat mitzvahs and things like that.
Yeah.
But they were very proud of themselves for doing all that work.
Yeah.
And so, I really have to take my hat off to them that, they also could, pull that bravery out of their hat and take care of things.
For sure. Yeah, it takes a lot of studying, and you have to speak in front of people in a different language.
However, our rabbi did say that she, her, and me were the only ones that are going to really know what she said.
That's so true, yeah. It could be.
No, they did fabulous, and they both were very proud of themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, I think the 2 good humans, that's 100% right there. So, you can't ask for more. I do want to touch base. This is just like a funny side note with Paula. So Paula, as she said, has been a teacher for 40 years. But Paula's been retired now, retired in quotation marks, because for how long?
4 years.
But yeah, she's teaching pretty much full time again after she retired. And when she's not teaching, Paula's always has the best side job. She's an elf at
Bass Pro.
She's a Jewish elf at Bass Pro.
I'm Moisha. Moisha elf.
Paula, she works for the city doing gardening. Paula's the person that never stops, and I think that is just. I don't know. I think I love it, right? Because I always feel like retirement, we think people are just like checked out and off traveling the world, which, Paula's fitting that in. But Paula is always, doing things for the community, doing things to keep herself busy, but ultimately always helping others. And I think that is just something that's in her. I love it.
I do have to say, though, I don't think this would have been me if I wouldn't have met you.
Oh,
I'm serious. I really am serious.
That's very sweet.
This would not have been me.
Oh, well, that's very sweet.
And that's what you get to do as a fitness instructor who inspires people and works with people, and a teacher. You get to see how people
it truly
grow
is
and change
more than just lifting weights and things like that.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's true.
What's your workout of choice these days? I know you run, but what else do you like to do?
Free weights.
Yeah.
I like that too.
I'm a huge fan. The older we get, the more weights become critical. And I keep trying to tell my mom, because she's doing a little bit of lifting, but I'm like, you got to get in there.
Weights, balance, all that stuff. I do the same. I feel like when we talk to our parents, they don't listen to us. Just like when we were younger and we didn't listen to our parents, the tables they get turned, and I was what age that happens. But my mom constantly all the time is like, I don't have good balance, and I should do this and do that, and it's like, yeah, you should, but it's just this constant push, repeat, constant.
Well, and then it's it's funny. It is just like having like how we used to be with them, because my mom will ask me for advice and then I'll tell her and she still doesn't, and then she asks me again. I'm like, I already told you.
Do you want me to repeat it again?
So she's probably like, see how it feels?
Yeah, maybe it's like it's all in the plan, right?
Yeah.
Like it's getting back at us for all those years of not listening. Sorry, we digress. So, Jenny, I think you had asked, Paula, we talked about what you were most proud of, and I think we can also kind of now ask, what's your biggest obstacle been?
It's always been fear, that I'm not good enough, that I can't do this, that I'm going to fail, that, those types of things. And it's probably pretty universal for people, is being afraid of what ifs and
our
all
last
of that.
guest said the same. Remember?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. It's a theme, right? And I think fear is such a scary thing, because we put so much emphasis on the things we're scared of, and we don't put enough effort on the things we can do and to like gradually overcome that fear.
Have you heard that fear stands for false evidence appearing real, I think is what it is.
Interesting.
I don't know. I love that, because it's like, it's all in your head, right?
Yeah.
And usually when you do it, it's not nearly as scary as you think it's going to be, but
really, it's all in your head.
Question for both of you ladies. What is the scariest thing that you thought you couldn't do and then you did?
Mount Missouri.
Oh, that's right. Paul is also, back in the day, we did some 14er hiking together.
nice.
Yes, that I got up there and had to backwards step off onto the summit up there, with people going, no, move your foot to the left, right there, put it, that.
It's funny because I've done like adventurous things, like I've gone skydiving. Though, like, that is not the scariest thing I've done. The scariest thing I've done have been things like going out on my own, going solo for starting my own business, or like Lori and I doing this podcast, putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
That for me is always the scariest.
Those are two wonderful examples. I mean, I think what Jenny, you make a good point. Like, Paula, yours is in a moment, fear that you overcame. And Jenny, you're kind of talking about something that is you have to overcome and constantly overcome it, because it is an ongoing fear. And I think there are so many different types of fear. It's interesting, at the end of the day, really, it's all just stuff we're scared of, right? And figuring out a way to overcome it.
The other thing that's terrifying is watching your kids do stuff that is like, so my youngest did a 14er this weekend. And she and two of her friends went. They're 17, right? And I was like, oh my God, I don't want to let him go, but you let him go. And then, my older one does rafting and like all these things. I'm like, they're so dangerous, but I can't stop them. Like, they need to go and they need to push themselves and they need to try these things. And I want them to do them, but it's terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I go back to, my stepson's 15 and he's starting to sort of drive, right? Permit. And you both have already experienced this, and I will say that I've avoided actually getting in the car with him. I've made my husband get in the car with him. But still, I think there's a fear in all mothers' hearts of like, it's not just are they able to do it, but they're putting themselves out in an arena of everyone else. Are they like paying attention on the road? Are they doing what they're supposed to do? Like, you have to let go and let go of control, and it's scary.
So obviously, again, I'm following in your footsteps. My kids are about out the door. So what are you like, what are you most excited about now that you're in this phase of life where your kids are gone and it's kind of all about you and what you want to do?
That's true. And I guess I'm kind of excited about the fact that I'm 64 years old and can still do these things.
Yeah.
And that my children have kind of come along with me.
Yeah.
And so they, in fact, my son had said on my birthday, sent me this little text and talked about how
You raised a good child. He sent you a text on your birthday. I mean, right there.
we already knew we were going out and everything, but he said something about how, every year you seem to do more.
Yeah.
And why it was wonderful. So
it's nice when they recognize that too.
and you've got a different relationship with them too. It's an adult relationship now, but it's good.
Well, Paula, I mean, we haven't even like scratched the surface of how amazing you are, and I mean, ultimately, we've just like gotten this much of the true badass you are. I mean, I have spent lots of time with Paula, and it would take me hours to really touch touch on every single thing that she has not just done for everyone else, but just for me personally, and how she truly has just been, I think, exemplifies what it means to be just an amazing mom, friend, co-worker to all the people she's worked with,
Community member. Yeah,
I mean, the list goes on and on. So, a gift meeting you and getting to share this time with Jenny and you today. I cannot wait to hear about your travels, your upcoming travels. I'm really, trying to vicariously. You used to, back in the day, Paula used to vicariously live through me and all my travels before I had children, and now I have a feeling it's going to be the opposite coming up here real soon as she starts to travel more and more. We have just really enjoyed, I think, learning more about you, learning about your kids and your journey. I know it's, there's always obstacles and challenges, but it seems as if you've exemplified, beating those and going above and.
Well, and I'd like to say thank you for giving me some guidance on my next little chapter here. It's nice to know that they turn out pretty well, even when you start to wonder. And they all don't go to jail. Exactly.
Right? They all don't.
It was only for a few hours.
Yeah. And it's just nice to think, like, when you think back on a life well lived, I think you can say I've lived a great life and I have so much more left to do,
I really do feel that way.
I love it. It's awesome. I can feel your excitement and your enthusiasm, and it's infectious. So thank you.
Thank you, friends, for joining us for another episode of Badass Moms. Until next time, keep kicking ass and changing the world.